You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. Every Tuesday, we visit with Sean Salisbury. Got 30 minutes here to dig in to a lot of good football talk. We're glad to have Sean with us as always. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, bud. How are you?
Doing great. Wish the Tigers could find a dub somewhere out there, man, but it's been a little bit of a struggle here the last month.
My Trojans finally found one, but that really doesn't matter. We found a quarterback, I think, but we still don't defend very well. But I get it, brother. The struggle's real. Trust me.
Would you have thought when these two teams were playing out in Vegas that both would be sitting here with a couple weeks left in November, this is what we'd be talking about?
No, Matt, I thought we'd actually, honestly, after that, knowing that LSU would turn it around after – SC controlled that line of scrimmage because LSU plays in a far more physical conference, at least from the Pac-12, and now they're in the Big Ten, meaning Southern Cal. But I would have said, when all is said and done, we will have this conversation now, close to Thanksgiving, that both teams will be in playoff contention, in striking distance, and neither one are going to make it. So it's been a rough go, bud.
Both teams have had a lot of close calls, but you are what your record says you are. Hey, I wanted to get your take on something, Sean, that's kind of been a talking point here, which is after the game against Florida on Saturday, Brian Kelly, so he was seen on the sideline with a play sheet in his hand. First time we've seen that. And he was asked after the game about it, and he acknowledged he is getting involved in the process and said effectively, when things aren't going well, the head coach has to get himself involved. On Monday at his press conference, I asked him to elaborate about that. He did say that, the process is Joe Sloan calls the play, and Brian Kelly, can override it. Kelly and Sloan both can be on the headset in the helmet comm with Garrett Nussmeier. And Sean, my take on that is, man, for a quarterback that's fighting it a little bit, that sure feels like a pretty cumbersome process. When you hear all of this going on and you see the result on the field, what's your thought when you hear all that?
Too many chefs, my man, in the kitchen. Even though we know the head chef is Brian Kelly. But let me just give you an example of the difference. And, Brian knows offense. I get it. But when you hire somebody, you have to empower them. And, yes, you have say over when to use a timeout. A lot of times the head coach who's not, doesn't carry the play sheet. He's given full go to the offensive and defensive coordinator. What happens is that when it comes to, okay, are we going for it on fourth down? When we cross midfield, is this 4-down territory? All those things you've gone on through the week. And in your pregame stuff, you say, okay, coach, and he turns you loose, said, here's the situations. And then you look to him, okay, timeout, boom, he tells that guy, and boom, the quarterback. So those things. But when you hire the guys and you give them full go, it's hard to take that away. When you take it away, there's a lot of things that get lost. And let me give you an example. When I was in Minnesota playing with the Vikings, that Denny Green was the head coach, and Brian Billick, who obviously a brilliant mind and went on to win a Super Bowl as the head coach in Baltimore, he would tell him up and down the sidelines, and it happened, when Denny wanted it, like Robert Smith was a running back. If we were then, he'd tell Brian, who's on the sidelines, Brian didn't go up the booth, he wanted to be on the sidelines with the players and getting a feel for the emotion of the game. And Denny would tell him, let's say 3rd and 4, give me your best run, not post, pre. He would all of a sudden, boom, get a completion, 6 yards. It's 3rd and 4 at the 42. Once in a while, Denny Green, who didn't carry a play sheet, was on a headset, but wasn't chiming in much, and a lot of times he'd take it off. He'd say, give me your best run, which was a mandate saying, if you throw the football, we're going to have a problem. Whatever your best run is, give me that. It didn't happen often because, to me, it gets to a point. And, yes, Brian Kelly's built his whole reputation on offense and then became a head coach and has had some tremendous success doing it. But to me, when you decide, and now you're starting to carry it around, if you're the play caller, whether he's Coach Sloan's in over his head or not, when you're the play caller, what are you thinking, Matty, when it gets to a certain situation? Are you as aggressive as you would be if you were full autonomy to do what you want? Of course not.
Right.
Which also filters down to the quarterback, and to the offense. Who's making the decision here? Who do I come to on the sideline? When I came to the sideline, I went to Brian. Or when Warren Moon came to the sideline, he'd come to, Warren liked to talk to the player, McMahon, which was me, and the Brian, we'd all be together. Denny would come over and listen, and then if it was 3rd and 2 or if the situation called for it, he'd say, yeah, let's get our best run here. And that was it. and call the play, gave the best. He didn't tell which play, said give us our best pass, best run. So to me, when you're struggling, that's the time you probably – the evaluation, let it happen after the season. If you're going to take it over during the season, or if you're going to be a little more heavily involved, which I understand, then take it over.
Yes.
I'd take it over. Be the guy. Don't let him sit in purgatory where it's like – because in truth, he's scrambling around right now, Coach Sloan, and getting this thing going. And when you're looking over your shoulder, I don't know a player, a quarterback, an offensive tackle, a running back that can stare over there wondering, well, who's calling this and who am I supposed to go to? Too much indecision. And this game moves fast, man. And so as much as I like Coach Kelly, and he's the boss, but if you're going to do it and hover and helicopter it, take it over.
Yeah.
That's how you cut that's where you did in the first place. That's how you became Brian Kelly, the playmaker who attacked and went after it. You hired Coach Sloan to do his thing. And if he doesn't do his thing, you evaluate him like a player. You either bench him or you hire somebody else. Same on defense. So I don't like it. I don't like it. I want that decision made early in the week. And if Brian doesn't trust, which he doesn't, obviously, or he wouldn't do this. Yeah. If he didn't trust that things were going the way he wanted, then you take it over, you put that play sheet in your hand, and you call it. And Joe's he's the guy feeding you. He's looking and seeing the coverage. Coach, it's been covered 2 on 3rd and 5 plus the last 4 times we've been in this situation. We cross midfield, whatever it is. I don't like it. It's too indecisive. You ask your players, be decisive, let it rip, and we'll evaluate on Sunday in college and on Monday in the NFL. So that part I don't like. And I think it shows on the football team too. I'm not sure. It feels like a Where's Waldo? What am I doing? And Nussmeier's game has – 6 weeks ago, if you'd have been telling me this was going to happen, I'd have laughed in your face. Yeah. I said, come on now. He's regressed. The play calling's regressed. The team's ability to get things done, under pressure, has regressed. They're losing to teams they should not lose to. It's not like Florida dominated numbers-wise. Florida made a few plays. They had a lot of chunk plays, and Lagway made some really good plays. He's a hell of a player. So I do not like when there's indecision going into a game. Let me get the indecision out of the way early in the week and let my players know we got this under control. I'm going to take it over this week. And you know as well as I do, Matty, when you do take it over as a head coach, when you've empowered a guy to do it, how can he not feel demoted?
Yeah.
Of course it's a demotion. So that's not the only reason they're struggling. Don't misunderstand me. But I think that the greatest teams define roles and they stick with them. And if that doesn't work, you get rid of them. Or you make sure early in the week people know what the pecking order is. And I don't like, well, let's see this. I have the power to override. No, I'm going to throw this play. No. Run this play. No. How about you just tell them, give me your best pass, your 3rd and 6 pass. All right, then we'll go do it. But when you see something, it's like a quarterback. If you see the backup warming up on the sideline, well, what's your first thought?
Yeah, I'm coming out the game.
They told him to warm up. Yeah, it's a bad look. And I know, well, you got to be tougher mentally to handle it. Well, fine and dandy, but you're still looking over there, so you're thinking, did they lose trust in me as well? Or are we ready to go to a freshman quarterback? Or are we ready to go to a rookie quarterback if you're in the NFL? I don't like it. I like roles defined, and you're the guy who hired them, so you live with it. And if you don't want to live with it, you call the plays, and when the season's over, you evaluate, or during the season, you get rid of them. That's just the way that it's a rough sport, and it's brutal. Pro sports is. I don't like the indecision because it looks like a team that's indecisive right now.
You know, I'm so glad. It's almost the exact answer that I gave. It's like, make it like you want to fire him. You want to call plays? Great, call plays, but don't do it in the middle of a game. The interesting thing about Nussmeier, too, is so Brian Kelly even acknowledged Nuss was coming to the sideline saying, man, I saw this, thought about doing this, but I was trying to protect the football. And to me, that said, now you've taken one of Garrett Nussmeier's greatest strengths, which is his instinct, and you've sort of neutered that a little bit. In the instances of not turning the football over, you've made him stop and slow and think. So how do you balance that? Wanting him to be instinctive, but also wanting to not be careless.
And what do we all tell? What do we, as a coach or anybody we coach, let it rip, man. Make smart decisions. But when you see it, if you like something, let it rip. You're far more eloquent than I am. You mean you say take it away? Yeah, it's taking his guts and balls away that Nussmeier's had, which made him win games against teams
right
where he's throwing the bender. Yes,
yeah.
And I know this in my career and in anybody I've been around. The second and at that position, indecisiveness, you start handing out Gatorade on the sideline. You cannot pull when you're indecisive and a split second late on indecisive, and when you're walking over to the sideline saying, well, I was trying to protect the ball. No. Part of your game is having guts, but in the process protecting it. I never have a problem as a coach, and whether it's a coordinator in a U.S. Army All-American game or whether it's coaching my guys, I always tell them, if you can come to me or go to your high school or college or NFL coach and say, when he asks you, why'd you do that? And you give me a definitive answer, I got no issue with it. Yeah. We'll evaluate that on Monday. We'll look at the tape if you're an NFL guy. We'll look at the tape on Sunday if you're a college guy. But if you come over to me with that Brook Trout look, anybody that's fished for trout knows what I'm that Brook Trout. Chuck Knox great when he goes, hey, don't come over to the sideline. Give me that Brook Trout look. He wanted you to be decisive. Come over and say, I saw this, so I did this. Okay, you got the ball in your damn hand. Let's go. And aggressive but smart quarterbacks win games. Aggressive quarterbacks that you take that from them and, like you said, neuter them or take those stones away. Now that extra split second, do I pull the trigger? Now you're late. Now, if you're late to the first window, guess what you're late to? Window number 2 and window number 3. And then you play scared not to make a mistake. So instead of playing aggressive but smart, you play kind of aggressive, but you're hesitant, and then nothing gets done. You'll make a throw once in a while, but that's not who you are. And it's taking a chef and cooking stuff in the microwave. That's not the way they do it. And it's the same thing here. So while Nuss has to take sacks and holding the ball and indecisive and turning the ball over too much, accountability because the ball's in his hand. The other thing is, if you're playing not to lose, and I don't want to say scared because it sounds like, well, he doesn't have guts, playing hesitant, you got no shot. And when the quarterback's coming over to the sideline, it's like, well, is it this guy or what are we doing here? And right when you said it, well, I'm trying to protect the ball. That's rule number 1 anyway going in, right?
Yeah.
But if you're trying to protect it and your mental process is, what if I don't protect it? The what if has got to be, what if I make this throw and we score a touchdown? That's the what if on the positive side, not on the what if negative happens. And what ends up happening? You borrow trouble, you start chasing ghosts, and inevitably your game starts to go to hell in the handbasket. Define the roles and let it rip and then evaluate later. I don't like in-game stuff like that. Go play like you're in the schoolyard. If it's at worst, go play like you would if you're – matter of fact, I would actually say, you know what, Nuss, you know the game plan enough. Here, we'll give you check with me. You go call it and let's see if that works. Let's play faster. Let's play like a 2-minute drill where we're playing. I do not like because now Nussmeier's hesitant, Sloan's hesitant, Brian Kelly in between plays up and down the sidelines creating – and Brian's a hell of a coach, but creating – that hesitant, which you never want to play. If I told my linebacker hesitate, he'd never get into this. He'd never scrape into the guy who gets to the edge ever. So why in the world am I going to tell the guy who's got the ball in his hand 90 times in some games and still can't win? That's a problem.
Yeah, man, I would love to see them play fast. I always say this, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Matty. No, you're good.
For me, when people say, well, how do you, the adjustments? The adjustments. Well, first of all, my number one adjustments are always subtle. To the fan, it's like when Detroit played horrible against the Texans in the first half last week, came on 5 picks and still won the game. Right. I my guarantee this week on a show I do, pregame show on Sunday, I said my guarantee and lock of the week is Detroit. They were minus 14 against Jacksonville at home. I said, with Ben Johnson, I said, that's the lock of the week. Bet whatever you got on him. They'll have 20. I said they'll have 28 points at half. They did. I said I got a little lucky on that. I said they may hang 50 on it because the focus that locks in. They're going to go back and they are going to let it rip and dial in and go and play fast. And they're not hesitating at all after last week. Well, 52-6 or whatever it was, and you knew that was coming down the pike because that's who they are. When in doubt, those subtle changes you make. Sometimes that one change is, you know what? How often do we see a guy in a 2-minute drill that struggled move the football? Sometimes change in tempo gets you to the point where you're not thinking. You're just friggin' playing.
Yeah.
And when you take all the stuff out of it, bam, they're not substituting. You're going fast. Then you get hit 8 in a row. It's like, okay, I'm back to the confidence has grown. Quit. Overthinking is not only a sin, but a detriment to offensive football. And I would like to see, when in doubt, okay, we're not moving. Let's change up the tempo a little bit. Let's not huddle. Nobody huddles, but meaning let's play fast. Let's play that where we run 15 plays in the next, every 30 seconds. We got another play going. Sometimes a quarterback will get out of his head that way and just start playing what we do in the street, in the schoolyard, and you just start hitting the open guy, and before you know it, you're back into your rhythm. And to me, that's the quickest fix in the world, is playing fast when you're struggling. Or if you're a fast team, maybe once in a while you need to huddle. Let him gather it, depending on how it goes. I'm a big tempo guy when the quarterback's struggling, because then he takes thinking out of it and it becomes a reaction position.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.